We're in the Hastings Court Care Home, a summer house.
Yes.
Where we are now.
Yeah. So we've moved locations.
Yes, we have.
It's very glam here, isn't it?
It's very lovely. Listen, this is a fantastic place. I'm not just bigging it up for the sake of it. I absolutely love it here, as do the residents. Hastings Court. It's best, it's brilliant.
Well, I'm going to go just back to your dad and then find out what led you to here, where we are now. So, Trevor Peacock, absolutely adored him, and he's a huge miss for you. He must be a huge...
Yeah, he is, definitely,
So, did he lead you to what you're doing now?
Well, what happened was Dad had dementia for, I remember Tilly, his second wife, not my stepmum, who was an absolute wonderful, she wasn't a wicked stepmum, she was a fairy godmother stepmum, she was brilliant, and she still is, we're big pals, and I love Tilly dearly. She called me up one day, Dad was in Yeovil, living in Yeovil, and she said, come up and see your dad, which I would always do anyway, to take my kids up there, my grandson and things. I thought, this is strange, why is Till asking me? Normally I just would say I'm coming up. Anyway, so I went up and she said to have a chat with Dad, and I chatted to Dad, and I thought, well, he's all right. Why am I here? What's going on? Well, what's the big thing? And Till said, I can't remember if she told me aside or Dad told me, to be honest with you, but Dad had just been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, but there was no signs of it that I could tell. So it was obviously very early stages.
And how did he take that?
You'd have to ask him really. If it was me, not very well, because I think the real thing is my guess is that from how he reacted and how some of the residents here are who have unfortunately have Alzheimer's. I think you probably go into a moment of denial to a degree because your brain is still functioning
perfectly fine.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then there were words, I noticed words that Dad, we both knew what word he was trying to say, he couldn't remember the word.
Can't reach them, can they?
And he couldn't find the word. Yeah. And they were pretty and I remember seeing the frustration in his face come in. And I suddenly realised, oh, this is something. And then I went and see him again, and it got slightly worse. But he was still my dad.
And still recognised.
Very much so. And then 6 months later, after those moments, Till said, Dad's had to go into a care home in Yeovil. So I went. I'd never been in a care home before. I went, okay, I'll come and see Dad. And now that's when I thought, fuck. And I remember just walking through the door, seeing him, and breaking down and crying because he was still looked a bit like my dad, but he wasn't there. He wasn't there anymore. Yeah. And it got progressively worse over a period of 5 years in the care home.
That's a long time, isn't it? It's a long time for everybody, isn't it? It's not just you, because my father-in-law had that, and it's everybody gets affected.
Yeah. So that was, and I remember going to the care home, and I can't remember what it was called, so I'm not going to say its name if I could remember really. But I remember I didn't like it very much. Right. I didn't like it, and I assumed that's how care homes were.
In what way?
It just seemed a bit. The staff weren't particularly affable. There was no comedy. There was no music. There was just all a bit people lining up to pass away. It seemed to me. Yeah. So then when I was writing this, waiting to find out if I had a third series of this show, I was living in Romney because I'd moved momentarily to Romney to write the second series of Marley's Ghost. Did the second series, waiting to find out the third, didn't get the third series. I thought, oh my God, I just committed quite a lot of everything to get the third series, didn't get a third series. And my son was looking for jobs, Charlie, and he said, look, here's one you could do, Dad. And I said, what? He said, come on, Dad, we're running out of cash, aren't we? And I said, well,
I've got a big appetite for growing loud.
Yeah, exactly. I said, no, we're still all right, Jez, we're okay. And he showed me, he said, Hastings Court, activities, you leap about, entertain people. express your love, and I thought,
back to your blue coat days.
Exactly, back to my. Well, I was going to mention that it's funny about the blue coat. It's funny you mentioned that because that's what it's a little bit like, but with more love. Because we've spoken about that when I first discovered Ian Jury, but it talked about my dad. Is that and I say this to my kids, is that there's very few people who will actually influence you. It's very important that you have good, positive influences, and you meet people who can do things that you can't do or you've never thought of doing. And my dad influenced me in a massive way because he was my father. There was a producer, Glenn Cardno, who was an influence on my life, but interestingly enough, I was very lucky to meet Liam Galvin.
I was going to say, because somebody was missing there, and I wanted to point out Liam Galvin because he's very hurt behind the cover.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I say this on my life, my absolute life. Yeah, Liam Galvin, who I met at drama school when I was 18 when I first went there, knew stuff about entertainment, knew stuff about how to perform, how to do certain things that I had never thought about. He was, even though the same age basically, I think Liam's a year or so older than me, but basically same generation obviously. He had aspirations to do things that I never would have dreamt of, and I was swept along by him, if you will.
Really?
Yeah, most definitely. And suddenly Liam would say, "Yeah, we're going up to Swindon next week to do pantomime." What the fuck? What? And he'd organise us to do pantomime to get our equity cards.
Yes,
I see, makes sense. And we had a great time. And then what we doing next, Liam? Well, I thought we'd go be blue coats for a while. So this is not the way I would think about life.
But he brought you, it dragged you.
Yeah, a little bit like Jack did to my father, Liam did to me, and you know.
And you know, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Yeah.
He's getting sweating there. It's like when he's talked about it, because obviously I've known Liam for 100 years as well, but it is like your own little is love story too.
Yeah,
sort of?
No, it's not.
But it is like that. Your relationship, you know, I would never want to step on your relationship together, but it's really precious to Liam. And when he talks about it, he always says how, and that's the word he uses, precious, don't you?
Well, I think we went through a lot of stuff together. And we sort of grew up together, found out maybe more about who we were together.
Yeah, but isn't that lovely that you still have that?
Well, here he is. There you see him over there.
There he is now.
Looking even more handsome than he did at Darlington.
Well, let's not get too carried away.
I'll get emotional.
He's getting emotional. So, but you're right. You do have to have positive, and they stay with you. They stay with you forever.
Oh God, yeah.
But that's at the beginning of your life. But just as people are getting older and going towards obviously later years, they still have to have positivity in their life and people around them.
That's why one of the reasons why I've been here at Hastings Court is so basically to go back to it. Charlie said you could apply for this, and I said no, I've never done a proper job. He said, well, for fuck's sake, get off your ass, Dad, because I was watching too much TV.
Right.
I was still writing, but I was watching a lot of TV. He said, rather than watch TV, you could be doing something positive. So it was really my son that pushed me down to Hastings Court, and I went for an interview. And by the time I got back, they phoned up and said, we want you to start. So I had to, you have to go through checks, like police checks and stuff like that. Yeah. But I did all that, and believe it or not, much to my surprise, I have a clean record. So
that's a surprise.
Yeah, and 2 weeks later, I was doing and that was just over 3 years ago.
So what does it entail being here?
Well, basically, you do. For being here is I mean the bond and the love you experience for the residents is extraordinary. And I was saying earlier, when people have asked me, you know, is this where do you see yourself anywhere else? My answer is no. This is I'm here. This is it. I mean, obviously, I'm writing Robin, would you believe, not to do with the film, to do with the series I was in. Right. I did some radio work recently on playing a character that I played many years ago.
Because you can still write just because you're here.
Exactly. Well, I do. I get back and I get back and I write. I've got a bottle of wine and I write. And my daughter does her poetry. Yeah. And we sit there and we get on, we talk and I write. So that's sorry. So it affords me the time to do that. It's a great routine to be in, and this is the most rewarding job, as I've said many times, that I've ever had in my life. You actually genuinely, and I wish. And my point being is that when I was Dad's care home, I thought that's the only reference I had.
Yeah.
All care homes were like that.
Yeah.
When I came here, I suddenly went, whoa, this is brighter, more exciting. And I make it a big point to make sure that the loved ones, the family members who come in and visit the residents, I try to show them as much love as possible as well, because I want them to know that their loved ones are being cared for. Because that's certainly what Hastings Court does.
It's huge, because when you say goodbye to them at the end of the day and you leave, you are left with that sort of dread and the difference that you will be making for people, the whole extended family as well. And you know, people forget, as people get older, especially in our society, especially in the Western society, it's almost as you have no point, so we'll just put you away somewhere almost. When in actual fact, what I think, the stories that the older generation have that we'll never get back if they don't get to speak and talk to us. And I'd really like you to tell me, and then I'd like to have a look around, but I'd really like to tell me the story of the swimming. I think that's an amazing story about the chap that's here that loves to swim.
Well, I'm having made a few TV shows in my time regarding being a director of certain shows. There's a point to what I'm saying. I would suddenly see a crane fixing a lamppost down the road. So I'd go over and I'd say, do you mind if I'll give you a tenner, can I put a camera on this to get this shot? Right, so I'm very used to suddenly seeing something and not wanting to take advantage of it, but wanting to make use of it. Make use of it, yes. Absolutely. So now at Hastings Court, for example, there's the golf course up the road. So there's a 9-hole course, and we have some people. It's muscle memory, you see. They might have Alzheimer's, but their muscles remember the swing.
My father-in-law, even though he was like that, he couldn't sort of think about yesterday, but he played golf. Right. He loved golf. Yeah.
So I take out 2 or 3. Me and Paul the driver, we go out and we take the boys and we play a round of golf. And that's what we do. Now other care homes go, what? How can you do that? It's really simple. You go and ask. You go to the place and you ask. And the swimming thing came about because I was up with a friend of mine up at Crowhurst Park, which is a swimming pool, and they've got I suddenly looked through and saw a swimming pool. It's a very nice swimming pool, and they had a hoist there. So, geez, they got a hoist, okay. So I went in and said, listen, I'm from Hastings Court, do you mind if I bring some people down and you could have got and hoist them in the water? And the guy said, okay, but you're going to have to talk to the management. So I went to management and did a deal with it. No, for no money. They were great. They said, yeah, bring everyone down. So we now go and people can go swimming. We do that once a week. We go swimming down at Crowhurst.
Tell me, what is the difference between when they weren't doing this to what they're doing now? What difference do you see?
Well, as I say, I mean, all I can say is that Hastings Court fundamentally it's fun. It's a fun place, but obviously there's massive rules and regulations which have to be there. Absolutely quite right. So that side of it, safety, care, nursing, is all a given. So what my department tries to provide is as much fun, mental activity, gags. I'm always gagging. I've got a joke for every staff member and every resident. We have running gags. So all I can say is this is a fantastic place. In a minute, if you go out to the garden, you'll see. I mean, we've got the garden. We've always got so much going on.
I tell you what it's like. It's like a hotel here, and the grounds are lovely. And I think what we'll do is we'll have a little walk around. But for now, I want to really thank you, Dan.
Oh, my pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much, darling.
My pleasure.
He's such a lovely man, and I just want to say, right, a lot of actors are so busy. Like you walk into a room and they're literally looking around somewhere else to find somebody more interesting. And often when I walk into a room, there is somebody more interesting to chat with. It's just one of those things. It's all right. I understand that. But Dan, what you see with Dan is what you get, and just a beautiful soul. I have to say that, just a beautiful soul.